Hi, everyone. I'm Pete Wright with Lexjet, and I'm joined today by Moss Crawford. He's a senior product manager at Epson, and he specializes in the Epson SureColor V7000. Moss, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Pete. Excited to be here.
Now, I'm always excited when we get together and we talk about the UV devices at Epson because coming from like the roll to roll world that I'm from, where we're printing, photos on paper and things like that, when we get into things that are just, they're flat, they're rigid, they have different shapes and sizes, and you're doing stuff that's completely different, it's exciting for me because it's like opening up a whole new world. So it's always great when we get to, get together and talk about these new
hmm
devices. So with that in mind, let's just jump in and start with the basics on the Epson V7000. Where does it line up in the greater Epson line of printers?
Sure. Well, the V7000, it's part of our industrial commercial signage series of printers. It also has a distinction of being the very first UV signage printer by Epson. So it's designed to, as you said, print on a multitude of medias and substrates in the signage world.
So who would be the ideal customer? I'm running a business and I think maybe I need to step up. Who is that
Mhm.
person? Who is the ideal customer that really needs to be thinking, this is the printer that I need to have in my office?
Shops that are currently producing rigid signage or looking to expand into the rigid signage business. Also, it's great. It's a great solution for printing on promotional items as well. So really, this helps you to kind of level up your current business and also helps you to expand into other areas.
So what kind of media are we talking about that we can actually print on with this machine?
Just wide variety. Corrugated plastic, wood, metal, acrylic, glass, heck, even doors, I've heard. So just a wide variety, very versatile.
All right, so doors kind of brings up a certain question that I was going to ask anyway. When you
hmm
get into flatbed devices, you kind of start looking at, hey, I don't have to print on something that's paper thin. I have the ability to kind of print up and down. I can get into different thicknesses. So what kind of thickness are we looking at? What are our maximum limitations on this device?
Yeah, so thickness wise, you're looking at 3.14 inches. So pi, for all of those who remember high school math. So 3.14. So that's why I say you can put something like a door underneath this, but you're capable of putting a box or a small toolbox. Those types of things fit underneath as well.
Now, can you do layered printing on this?
You can. So you can do white, color, and varnish. You can do multiple layers of white or multiple layers of color, multiple layers of varnish to create texture and feel as well. Not only to embellish, right?
So we talked about thickness a little bit. What are some
Mhm.
things that maybe people would be surprised that the V7000 can do?
Well, because of the wide versatility of medias and substrates that you can put on there, people are always surprised at the things that they can print on as far as everything from glass and acrylic. But I've heard people printing on slate and granite. In addition to that, let's not forget promotional type items. So pens and coasters or bottle caps and jar lids, those types of things. I think people are really surprised once they kind of get into using the machine and just starting to use their imaginations.
Is that a scenario because of the size of your bed where you can actually gang up a whole bunch of things and do a whole bunch of pins or a whole bunch of one item at one
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, absolutely, right? So it's a 4 by 8 area, so 4 feet by 8 feet. So you're able to get multiple items up on the bed and print. And not only could you print on just, let's say, jar lids and then run pens, but you can run the pens and the jar lids together at the same time. Just a matter of setting up the proper artwork and bringing that into the rip.
So in a single pass, it has the ability to level up and down as it's going along.
Well, one caveat to that is that everything needs to be the same height.
Okay.
So you can fashion your jigs to accommodate that if you do some planning ahead. So
Okay. So if you're a production company and you know, okay, I've got 2 or 3 completely different type production things. If
Mhm.
you're ganging them up, you've got to create some type of jig to hold it anyway. So as you're
Absolutely.
building that jig, if you have multiple types of items, just build the jigs so that they all are at the same level, so that the passes are all at the same height. And then, like you said, you have the ability to go through and do pins or lids or whatever all on a single pass, as long as you've kind of all set them up at one stage.
Exactly. It just takes a little bit of homework, let's call it,
But if you're in a
before.
production environment, I mean, that's something you're going to do anyway. I mean, typically, if you're in a production environment, you're doing a lot of the same thing over and over again. So you've kind of got to go through that process. You're going to go through it one time, but now you've got a device with this huge flatbed that allows you to do a bunch of them at once versus one offs or 4 or 5 at a
Mhm.
time. You're being able to do a mass quantity. It's really going to speed up your production, right?
Exactly, right? So, you want to do things that maximize your production. But not only that, I mean, you hit on it right there. You can do a variety of things. So you can fill up an entire 4x8 area with multiple items. But you also have the ability to, hey, you know what? I only need 10 of these pens, right? So you can run that as well. It's really up to you in maximizing your production.
So you mentioned, and I said I was going to circle back to this. You mentioned glass and acrylic. Now,
Hmm.
when it comes to glass and acrylic, I always think of, hey, this is something I can do something that's maybe backlit with, because you have that see-through capability. You can do some pretty neat stuff when you get into glass and acrylic if you're really creative. So let's think about things like stained glass. If I wanted to have a stained
Hmm.
glass effect, just taking it to an extreme, is that something you can do? Can you kind of do like a faux or a mock stained glass?
I've definitely had customers tell me that they can do this with the V7000. Takes a little bit of pre-press, manipulating ink densities, things like that. But it is doable from what I've been told.
Now, talk to me about the white ink and varnish on this machine and how those really add value and the different applications they allow you to do with the V7000.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is that white and varnish come with the press. They're not options. So the press comes with. Um, White and varnish, what we've done is we've created separate heads, separate ink channels for the white and varnish. So we've got 8 total heads. We have 2 white, 2 varnish, and 4 color. This, by the way that we arrange it in the carriage, right, allows you to be able to do white, color, and varnish in one pass. So this maximizes the efficiency of the press. Also, talking about white, we've developed a recirculation system, so it's closed loop. So the white actually circulates on its own, helping to avoid what everybody in the industry talks about is, white being a pain and clogging nozzles. Well, we've resolved that by having the circulation system built in.
So then that brings up reliability. And two things that I always like to talk about when it comes to any printer is
Mhm.
reliability and quality. So let's touch on that a little bit. What are we looking at in terms of just the maintenance of this machine, the reliability in terms of how we're going to take care of it, and any problems we may have on it? And then let's talk about the quality that we're going to get off of this machine in terms of what we can expect to see in terms of the products that are being printed.
Sure. Well, one, I mentioned the recirculation system. So that helps with the white ink channel, keeping it flowing. Maintenance, it's usually once a day at the end of the day. Very simple. It's just a matter of pushing a few buttons, getting in there, wiping the head, and then sending it back home. But let's keep in mind too that maintenance is a part of maintenance is your environment, right? So as long as you're within spec in a reasonable environment, you don't have to be in a clean room or anything like that. But as long as it's a reasonable environment, you're not sitting next to let's say a bay door or something with dust blowing in, right? As long as you're in a reasonable environment, maintenance is once a day, and it's super simple.
Now, when I first saw a flatbed printer, I can almost liken it to the first time I saw a car when I was a little kid. I looked at it, I'm like, it's so big. How do you drive that? How do you do this? And it's just that first time you see a technology, your
Mm.
mind is blown and it looks super complicated, and you're like, how am I even going to do this? And it becomes intimidating. So if you're coming from a roll to roll environment, you've only ever worked with roll printers, and you walk up to this flatbed printer that's just this big device, what's the learning curve? What's the ease of use for somebody that's like, should I do this? Should I not do it? What should they be thinking about when they're thinking about taking that step in from an ease of use standpoint?
Well, yes, it can be intimidating, right? Because it is a big piece of equipment. However, these are the things that Epson has built their reputation on, right? Ease of use is one. So if you're coming from a roll-to-roll printer and coming over to the world of flatbed, it's exceptionally easy, especially if you've been using Epson Edge print. Um, all the options and the controls are extremely similar. So when somebody comes over to the flatbed and begins to run it, super easy, very familiar, it's intuitive. And really, you can be up and running and printing your first job probably within, I would say, 30 minutes. It's that quick.
Now, you and I have talked a bunch of times in the past about the Epson Edge print software. So talk to me about that. Is it the same software? Is it going to work the same? Is it going to operate the same? And if I've been using that in the past, is it going to be an easy transition? And if I've never used that in the past, what are the perks and benefits of having that piece of software?
The V7000 ships with Epson Edge print. It's super easy to use, user-friendly. If you've been using it to run your LFP units, then it's a super easy transition, similar options, similar windows. It's a great feel. If you're not using Epson Edge, then you know what? It's a simple, easy to use program. Like I said in the past, 30 minutes going through the tutorials, and you're ready to go.
Perfect. Now, I can kind of hear voices in my head screaming, you haven't talked about the vacuum on this. Like, you've talked about putting things down and printing on them, but what's holding it into place? And how do I handle if I'm putting something small on the big bed and it's just holding that, or does it lose suction? So talk to me a little bit about the vacuum bed, because that's probably one of the coolest parts of the technology in there. So tell me a little bit about how that works and the capabilities.
Yeah, so you definitely need to have a vacuum bed, and this bed is vacuum. So 4x8 area. However, we've broken it up into 4 different zones. So each zone is 2 feet by 4 feet. You're able to turn each zone on and off independently. So that way, if you're using the whole thing, all 4 zones are active and it's sucking down the substrate onto the bed, holding it into position. If you only need a small section of that, let's say a 2 foot by 2 foot area, then you can just activate one zone and away you go. You're able to print, everything's being held in position.
It's a super intuitive. It's almost like a reverse air hockey table, basically, is what you're saying to me here.
Exactly. Sometimes I wish it would blow the other way so we could play air hockey, but
Right?
but it is like air hockey table.
Listen, I mean, it's big enough, so that could be like a future model adjustment you guys could make. You never know. I mean, I can see it happening.
Yeah, exactly.
So I always like to end with something you've seen, maybe a company or a business model or something you've seen that was like, wow, that's really cool. I didn't see that coming. Do you have any ideas or any examples of things that you've seen people do with the V7000 that just were impressive to you?
You know what? We're always getting feedback from all of our customers and our dealers. People are extremely innovative, and when they apply their imaginations to what they're printing, it seems like the possibilities are really endless. I've heard people printing on pieces like slate or granite, just creating not just signage, but decorative pieces as well, even artistic pieces. I know there's one of our customers who runs this product in a very fine production mode, and he actually reproduces large art pieces, his own art, of course, and uses it for that purpose. So really, possibilities are really endless.
So what you're saying is the only limitation is your imagination when it comes to the V7000.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Moss, thanks as always for sharing some great information. This is one of those exciting devices that we've come to expect from Epson to produce every single year, it seems like. If you have any questions about the Epson V7000 and how it might be a fit for you, give us a call at 800-4-LEXJET. And for any of your supply needs, check us out at lexjet.com.